What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston podcast and another Monday weekly nerdy news. And this week we didn't have too much news come out, at least not that I saw. So if there's anything I missed from the last week, please let your boy know down in the comment section below. But just to go over the little show rundown, we got some little Rotten Tomatoes news, a little bit of Star Wars news to start out the show. Then we're going to talk about the Lanterns trailer that came out last week, and there is a full breakdown on that trailer already out on the channel, so if you want to go see my further in-depth thoughts on the Lanterns trailer, you can go check out that video. But we're going to talk briefly about things we noticed in the hype or not so hype, and some of the criticisms from that trailer and some of the chatter we saw online over the Lanterns trailer last week. And then there was also a little 30-second Daredevil Born Again Season 2 trailer that had a few new shots and just was like this epic little short 30-second trailer, so I figured why not toss that in this video and go over all the little details and little frame-by-frame shots we see in that 30-second trailer. But yeah, so not too crazy a week, and we do have Daredevil Born Again coming out in just a few weeks, March 24th, but we'll get into that. Just to start out today's show, though, I want to talk just briefly about my boy Jason Tatum. JT is back, and he returned last Friday night, I believe, and he also played on Sunday, and then, you know, he's now back just 10 months after tearing his Achilles, and right around the same time there was like 4 big stars in the NBA that all tore their ACLs or Achilles all at the same time. And it was like Kyrie Irving, it was Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton, and Jason Tatum. All 4 of those guys were out with this Achilles injury, and Jason Tatum was the only one you were really hearing from that he was like going to return and like will be back soon, and like, you know, he posted videos of him working out and grinding, you know what I mean, and doing all of the work so that he can get back to play as soon as possible. And he got back before the playoffs, less than a year. Most of these guys are probably going to be out for the entire season, you know, and the other 3 guys you haven't heard shit from. You know, I hadn't heard anything from Damian Lillard about him returning to play, and then he showed up at All-Star Weekend and won the 3-point contest because he won last year, so he was able to come back this year and shoot again, you know, defend the title if you would. And yeah, just some crazy shit going on in the NBA, and the fact that Jason Tatum came back after just 10 months from an Achilles tear and is playing just as well, like, shout out JT and my Boston Celtics. Absolutely love to see that for the boy. But then over the weekend, I went and saw Hoppers with my buddy Langone and his daughter, my niece, my little niece Avery. She's the best. And Hoppers, it was a very funny little cute movie. It was actually, you know, if you have really young kids, it's actually kind of scary and emotional, you know, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend young kids. Like, even his daughter didn't necessarily love it during the movie. She was kind of like, I don't like this, you know, she was kind of scared at some parts, and by the end she did say she liked it, but I have a feeling, you know, it wasn't her favorite type of thing. And maybe if she was, you know, I think she's only like 3 or 4, so if she was like, you know, 5 or 6, maybe this would have been an easier digestible movie for the kid. But it's been getting great reviews, and it debuted on Rotten Tomatoes with a 98% critic score with 42 reviews. It's like an hour and 45-minute movie. It's not bad. But we also went over to the Danvers movie theater here in Massachusetts, and they have a Dolby Cinema, right? Like, so not necessarily IMAX, but Dolby sound, and it was like different from their regular theaters. So this Dolby one was like crazy loud, but also like sounded so good that I was like, damn, is this gonna have to be my new home theater that I go to? Normally I go over to like Burlington, but they've been slacking and they don't necessarily always have the best theaters, you know. It's just like a local theater that's like 15 minutes away that I can get to no problem, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't know, maybe Danvers is gonna be the new home for seeing movies, you know. But Hoppers was not bad, 98% critic score. And if you guys want to see my full review on Hoppers, that video comes out tomorrow and that movie review will be out. So go check out that if you want to hear my thoughts on Hoppers and hear what score I gave it out of 5 or 10 stars. But go follow my Letterboxd either way, link below for those, for any of the movie people out there. But coming up, I think maybe later this year or potentially next year, because I think Star Wars is going to have The Mandalorian and Grogu be the only film that they have coming out this year. But there is Star Wars Starfighter from director Sean Levy and starring Ryan Gosling, who just hosted SNL last week, and that was actually wicked funny. I love SNL, but I love Ryan Gosling getting to be a goof like that, and I hope this movie is quite funny. But this little report we're talking about today was the star of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, actor Daniel Ings, who played Sir Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm. He says that Star Wars Starfighter has a real punk feel, and I didn't even know this guy was in this film, so this is already getting me more excited for Star Wars Starfighter than I already was. And Daniel Ings says that Ryan Gosling, who I had most of my stuff with, again, was so playful with it and hunting for interesting moments. So it seems like Ryan Gosling, you know, between Project Hail Mary, Star Wars Starfighter, you know, working with Daniel Ings, who's coming off of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, you know, like, I think this movie should be fun, you know, and I hope Daniel Ings isn't like the bad guy. I hope he's like, you know, somebody that's more like a Han Solo working with Luke Skywalker type of thing, you know, more like a friend, but also, you know, tossing, busting each other's balls type of shit. But I don't know. I think this movie's going to be interesting. It from everything I've heard about Star Wars Starfighter, Ryan Gosling, he's like an uncle to this young kid, Sean Levy, who's coming off of Deadpool and Wolverine. So, like, at the very least, I think this will be a very, very fun Star Wars movie, but he says it has a punk feel, so maybe it's like punk rock, it's grungy, it's dirty, who knows, you know, maybe it will be like Star Wars, Starfighter will be more like Guardians of the Galaxy, who knows, you know. Either way, I am so excited to have more Star Wars back in our eyeballs on the big screen, you know what I mean. And The Mandalorian and Grogu just released another little image the other day, and I think this is more like concept art because it looks a little too clean to be like a real image from the film, but this is the concept art design for Rota the Hutt, who will be voiced by Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, and also just did the Bruce Springsteen documentary as Bruce Springsteen. And this image here just cracked me up because it's like, it's almost like they saw Thor Ragnarok and they were like, oh, that would be cool to do in Star Wars, do like this battling gladiator arena. And this image here almost looks like if Hulk was fighting Thor in Thor Ragnarok in the gladiator arena. This looks like if it was Star Wars version, Road to the Hutt here is Hulk, and he has like 2 axes that he's wielding with his jacked body, but he's still a slug, so it just like looks strange to see a jacked Hutt. But the fact that it's Jeremy Allen White cracks me up. And then like Mando's gonna be like Thor going up against this hulking Rota the Hutt. Interesting. But I wonder, is Rota like directly related to Jabba? Like, is he his son or something? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in May. But sliding out of Star Wars and into some DC stuff, and the Lanterns trailer came out last week, and like I said, go check out that video if you haven't. But the Lanterns little poster here from DC Film News, this guy does the best graphics, but I love like this, the Lanterns logo, just how simple it is, but just the little Green Lantern's ring where it's got like the gold trim, and you can tell it just glows green. And yeah, I love a good ring that's customized to be like the character's thing, you know what I mean? Like even in The Flash, how bad that movie was, but like the suit was stored in a ring on like the finger. That was always cool to me. But yeah, it was funny, like last week, James Gunn released this picture, and it was like different DC comics of the Green Lantern with Hal Jordan on the cover, or Jon Stewart on the cover, and then one with that both of them back to back with each other. So maybe that's how this series is kind of going to be, where Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are individuals, but they're going to have to come together, possibly reluctantly, to defeat a greater foe. And I feel like this is going to get cosmic, but it's going to start out like a crime drama, almost like True Detective season 1, and it's going to be like a Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey bouncing off of each other, but it's going to be Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan and Aaron Pierre's Jon Stewart. So I don't know, man. In the Lanterns and the Green Lanterns in general haven't necessarily been done a whole lot in live action, and like other than Ryan Reynolds' 2008 film of like this green CGI suit which didn't look great at all, you know, people are giving this trailer a hard time because they showed one shot of the suit, which people are thinking is Hal Jordan's Green Lantern suit, and it's a little too brown. You know, there is green trim and some stuff on it that's green, but for the most part, it's like this brownish material, and I'm not mad at it. I would still need to see it on him and in motion to fully judge the suit, but, you know, my Green Lantern is always more of a green suit, you know, kind of like the comic pictures that James Gunn posted, you know, like it's a green, almost spandexy suit, you know, it's not necessarily CGI, but it's like a green light suit that goes around you, you know, and like the Green Lantern, to me, anytime they use their powers, it's almost like a green shield goes around them all the way head to toe, but maybe I'm just picturing the Green Lanterns from like the animated series, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I really am digging the look of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan with those two actors together, and like I can already tell Kyle Chandler's going to be in rare form in this show, and he's going to be really good and snippy, he's going to have attitude, but Aaron Pierre is like a rising star in his own right, so he's going to be a very good Green Lantern Jon Stewart to me going forward, and I hope, you know, if not one of these guys, if not both of these guys, but I really hope Jon Stewart, because he's my Green Lantern, Jon Stewart, and I hope he ends up more in James Gunn's DCU and hopefully eventually the Justice League they end up in. I wouldn't be mad about that as well, but yeah, definitely some good images so far for these guys, and like Jon Stewart looks like a beast, Aaron Pierre with the clean jaw and you know, lined up little haircut, you know. I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. I still want to see both of them in their super suits, but also we know Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern, is going to be in this show, from a report that Nathan Fillion said, like, oh yeah, I'll be in the Lantern show, and I'm swearing more than I have in any show ever. So not only is it an HBO show, it's a DC Studios show, and people like Guy Gardner can go from Superman to Peacemaker now into Green Lanterns, and he's going to be swearing even more in this project than in the others, you know, so like very interesting to me. But then, you know, some other person put like a picture side by side together with that brown suit that people weren't liking, and then they just changed the colorways on it to make it look more green, and just saying to them like, hey, it's not too late. If you guys want to change the brown suit in the show to make it look green, you can. Just keep the suit and just change the colors, you know. And I do like the way that the all green suit looks, but the brown suit to me looks like really lived in and raw and real. So maybe this guy's, you know, been on a desert planet or something, and he's been, you know, maybe it was green and it just gotten faded so much over time because he's worn it a lot. I don't know. But I won't judge that show too harshly until I officially see more from it and see more of the trailers, and that should be coming later in August, so stay tuned for more Lanterns content coming your way and more DC Studios updates. But sliding into my final topic of today with the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 trailer that came out. And it was literally only 30 seconds, so it's short and sweet. So I just want to play it and then we'll go through and, you know, talk about the things I noticed. But I love this little poster here with like the Daredevil's black and red suit and the blood rain coming down, and like, oh, it just looks so good. So that's probably the thumbnail on today's video. But yeah, the black suit, man, it looks really good. But then there's some shots of it where like you can see Matt like taking it out of a bag, and he's got the DD logo on the chest, which just looks so good and so iconic and comic book accurate. And we've been waiting for him to get the Daredevil on the chest for what, 5 seasons now, and it's finally happening in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Can't wait. I really can't. It's only a couple weeks away. We're talking like 14, 15 days away at this point. I'm ready, baby. But let's check out this trailer and see what we notice.
This has gotten so out of hand.
I feel
liberated. Can you stop him?
Not alone.
So what's next?
I'm gonna take this city back.
This should be tons of fun.
Wow, Jesus Christ, there is so much going on in that trailer, and there's just so much to see, like, even right from the get-go. So why don't we go a little bit more frame by frame, and like that trailer starts out, and we got a side profile shot on Matt, and, what is it called, 60-30-10 or something like that, where like there's 3 sets of colors in your shot at all time. So you're like 60% black, and then you have 30% red, and then a 10% beam of white light that's heading towards camera, and then he turns his head to it. So like just some of the great shot compositions and like just great filmmaking, like in bringing some of that moody lighting that they had back in like the Netflix Daredevil show, and some shots that like, yeah, sure, they were dark, but man, did they look great. And you know, there was a reason people loved that Netflix Daredevil show, and now, you know, people are hopefully going to love Daredevil Born Again Season 2 as much as that original show. And I think it has a lot of elements that it should be able to do, you know what I mean? But we see Matt in his head in his shot here, and he turns towards camera and looks into it, as we see AVTF, which I think is Anti-Vigilante Task Force, and Fists Police that are, you know, barricading a crowd that seems to be rioting against them, maybe. And, you know, there's different, somebody has like a Statue of Liberty sign with like a cross through it or something. And then we see our girl Jessica Jones, played by Kristen Ritter, has returned, and she's like, this has gotten out of hand. And on March 24th, we're going to see just how out of hand it is as we hear Donald Glover's, or Childish Gambino's, I feel liberated, over-medicated, you know, like such a jam of a song. But we see that black Daredevil logo in suit, and then we see Wilson Fisk in his white Kingpin suit with a black vest underneath as he's walking down a corridor, maybe a prison corridor, because maybe that looks like cells behind him. And then we hear Jessica Jones say, can you stop him? And we see a shot of Matt and Kingpin face to face with each other. And then they kind of step to each other a little bit, and says, Daredevil returns for another season. And we see that black suit, and he's putting the Billy Club baton together as his weapon of choice. Is that shot from below, as we can see the black suit with the red DD on his chest. Which I'm curious, is this the same red suit that we had before, and it just got like charred or burned or something? Or is it like a new suit entirely? You know, I'm curious. But because Jessica Jones asked him, can you stop him? And he says, not alone, I can't, as it cuts from Daredevil returns for a new season. And then we see shots of Daredevil flipping and hitting somebody, maybe, as we cut to shots of Karen Page holding a gun on somebody. So, and she looks like she's maybe out in the rain or something, or maybe a foggy night. But hopefully she's got a bigger role in this season as well. We also see Jack Duquesne, which Tony Dalton maybe is his name, the actor. But he is returning from his role in season 1, but he was also in Hawkeye. So that's now, you know, tying the shows in a little bit. And his character, I believe, was arrested by Wilson Fisk at the end of last year, or end of last season, which was also last year, and he is stuck in like a prison cell with like a bunch of other high-level people that Fisk is just holding, you know, with no right, you know, like they didn't do anything wrong. He's just holding them so that they can't, you know, talk or speak out against him type of shit. But then we hear Jessica Jones ask, you know, so what's next? And then we see shots of Jessica Jones and him fighting AVTF people, and she's knocking a guy out. And then we see a big explosion by the docks. That shot was in a previous trailer. We see the shot of Matt, and he's, you know, the color turns red on his face, and then he kind of smiles into camera like he's probably about to beat somebody up, or maybe he can hear Jessica Jones coming around the corner to beat somebody up. But she's like, so what's next? And he says, I'm going to take this city back. But he's in the red Daredevil suit, so maybe this is before this suit becomes the black suit, or maybe this is like the very beginning of this season. Maybe he's fighting somebody, and then Jessica Jones shows up and goes, "What's next?" And he's like, "I'm gonna take back this city. I need your help," you know. But you know, our boy Matt's gonna take back the city. He's got the black suit. He looks like he's in that same celled area that I was just talking about, that Fisk has all these people held. But AVTF guys run in, and Matt throws a baton at one of them's head, and it strikes him. And just as it strikes him, you see blood fly out from under the helmet, which, you know, it's just a nice touch. But on Disney Plus, we see a shot of Bullseye flipping some spoons, which you know he's about to throw through somebody's eye. And then we see somebody laying down a motorcycle as it skids through an intersection. We then cut to shots of Karen Page with the new White Tiger, and his like niece that we saw in season 1 is right behind her there in a quick shot. And Karen's still got that gun, so Karen ain't taking no chances. She's shooting first, asking questions second. But then we see shots of Matt with his black suit. Maybe looks like it's morning, so maybe Daredevil out in the morning. He spent all night and he's you know, exhausted in the morning time. But you know, maybe that's the black suit, or maybe that's the red suit that has like burn marks on it, because you could see little bits of the red suit under the black suit. So now I'm very curious where this black suit comes from and how he gets the Daredevil logo on his chest, or is it something that just happens and they don't talk about it? You know, I don't see that being Daredevil. You know, I see that being a part of the story, so maybe we'll find out. But we see more agents walking, and we see a cop car getting shot at, so maybe that's Karen Page driving that cop car trying to escape as these guys are shooting at him and explosions are going off. We see a shot of Kingpin and punching that other cop at a boxing event and blood flying all over the place. We then see Daredevil hitting the lights in a hallway and having what you know is going to be just another iconic Daredevil hallway fight, and he's, you know, diving on a guy with his billiard club, and then it looks like Jessica Jones is behind him about to grab the fire extinguisher to hit some guy with. And then the hallway becomes red lighting, and Matt throws a baton into some AVTF's officer's face to get him to unhand some guy. And then we finish out with Jessica Jones saying, "This should be tons of fun," and Matt just kind of smirking and like laughing. And he's in a, you know, just his regular suit attire, but maybe some blood drips on him, so maybe he's coming from a night out on the town as the lawyer, you know what I mean? But yeah, Daredevil Born Again, new season coming soon, and streaming March 24th on Disney Plus. And that's that little trailer. I was like, wow, that was a jam-packed 30 seconds of trailer, you know what I mean? And yeah, just a very, very good trailer. I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far from Daredevil Born Again Season 2. All I know is my boy Foggy better still be alive, and I need that to happen. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about everything we talked about here today. Hoppers, I mean, shit, the Celtics, Jason Tatum, Star Wars Starfighter, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Are you excited for more Star Wars stuff coming in the future? Lanterns, that DC Studios HBO TV series coming later in August. A nice little summer show. Can't wait to see more from Lanterns. And Daredevil Born Again is coming in just a few weeks, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And I think later this week, I did say last week that I was going to be coming out with a Monarch Legacy of the Monsters Season 1 recap. Comment below if that's something you would still like to see. I haven't gotten around to catching up on the show, so I'm going to try and do that this week. And I'm going to catch up on Season 1 of Monarch Legacy of the Monsters, try and do like a recap video for y'all, and then get into Episode 1 and 2 of Monarch Legacy of the Monsters with the two Russell boys, Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell, playing the same character in two different age eras, you know. And yeah, Anya Sawai's in there. Just a great little show, and especially if you're a fan of monsters and King Kong and Godzilla and that type of stuff. I remember liking Season 1, so yeah, go check that out on Apple TV now, and comment below any Monarch fans out there if you want to see some breakdowns on the channel, and I'll get those done for y'all. But That's it for me, y'all. Thank you guys for joining me today on another Comically Boston Weekly Nerdy News podcast. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts about everything we talked about today. And if you want to send me those to my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Please give me a follow on all of those. And if you would like to support the channel further, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future Monday morning Comically Boston podcasts where we talk the weekly nerdy news every week, and you'll get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much. It means the world to me that you made it this far, and I will see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace!